Hey, everybody. It is your Norfolk Senator, Senator Angela Williams Graves, representing the 21st Senatorial District in the Commonwealth of Virginia and doing good work on your behalf. I want to welcome you to our first chat in What's Up Wednesdays. I am so excited about today's conversation. I'm excited to be back in Richmond. We're going to talk about why I'm here today a little bit and just have a good conversation. Now, I want you to know this particular chat is not live. When I first came up with the brilliant idea to do this social media exchange, I picked a date. I decided what I wanted to do, and I didn't realize that today was reconvene day, and we gavel in the Senate somewhere around 12 o'clock. So noon on April 17th was not ideal, but with wonderful technology, we can still come to you. I can still come to you from Richmond in the Capitol, and we can still launch our chat on What's Up Wednesdays. Going forward, we will be live. We'll be able to have an exchange and to answer questions. But I just want to, I wanted to make sure that we kicked this off and we did a great job in having an exchange and letting you all know what we do here in Richmond, what a lot of my colleagues do, and giving you some insight into the political process, giving you a little bit of information about what's going on in Norfolk, and answering questions that you may have. So I want to start off by saying, number one, all of my contact information for my office and my team is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You'll see the phone number to the office, you'll see the email to the office, and you'll also see the norfolksenator.com website, which has all of our information on there. You can go on there and learn a little bit more about me, what my values are, what I work for, some of the legislation that I've been able to pass while being here in the General Assembly for the last 3 years, and specifically this year in the Virginia Senate. At the top of the screen is all of our social media contacts. So you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow what we do on a day-to-day, maybe week-to-week basis. Maybe not day-to-day, sometimes day-to-day, sometimes week-to-week, but definitely you'll be able to follow us and stay engaged. And so I want to invite you to follow us on social media and to reach out to my office if you need anything. We are a conduit between local, state, and federal government agencies and our constituents. And even in some instances, we can help you out with matters that may involve private business. We can't influence them, but we may be able, if you have an issue, we have a lot of contacts at our disposal, a lot of resources at our disposal that we can use to help you. So here's the thing. We've got 30 minutes and I've got to get into my caucus meeting at 11:15 actually. And so I've got 30 minutes to get all of the information to you about why we're here today. I want to start off with a little bit of information about the city of Norfolk. Y'all know I'm a Norfolk girl and I love the city of Norfolk. There are a lot of great things that are going on in the city, and there are a lot of things that you can participate in. But if you have issues with the city, anything from a dead dog in the street to a code violation on a neighbor or with a business, or if you didn't get your trash picked up, or if there's a street light out, did you know that you could call the Norfolk Cares line at 757-664-6510. That's 757-664-6510. And you can call that number. There will be wonderful, friendly people on the other end that will be there to help you and to assist you. And then those folks will give you a ticket number, and you will be able to take that ticket number and follow up on your request. And so it's very important that you know that you can do that, because we all have issues and something goes wrong, periodically from time to time. And that gives you a way of being able to connect on any service, on any issue in the city of Norfolk. So it's really like a one-stop shop, right? So the other thing that I want to bring to your attention is a community conversation. It is coffee and conversation with the City of Norfolk's planning department. And what people may or may not realize is that the City of Norfolk plans 20, 25 years out. And so here's an opportunity for you to have coffee and conversation with the City of Norfolk's planning department and talk about what you would like to see in the city for the next 25 years. And here's where I really want to challenge our millennials and younger generation, because these plans that we have now, that we're making now, these plans will affect your generation much more than it will affect ours. And so I want to see our Gen Zs, Gen X, millennials, I want to see you all get involved. Now, what I will tell you is there's not a conversation currently listed or scheduled for the east side of Norfolk. And I have contacted my council members and said to them, hey, I love this idea, but y'all didn't cover the east side of town. So they're working on getting a fourth conversation that covers the east side of town. So make sure when we get that information, we'll post it on our social media, and you can always go to the norfolk.gov site in order to see where those conversations are happening. And then I want to take the opportunity to invite you to a brunch that is so very near and dear to my heart. And that is the third annual Women's Her Story Brunch. And the Women's Her Story Brunch is one that we started when we wanted to honor the appointment of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. And we had so many women who literally run the city of Norfolk, from the treasurer, the commissioner of revenue, the HR director, the who else did we have? We had folks from the city manager's office, the chief deputy from the city manager's office. All of those were women, and they are running the city of Norfolk. And so it was really great to have that conversation and have women sharing in their experiences in the workplace. And sometimes when you have things happen to you and you're just working, you kind of think like you feel like you're on an island by yourself, and you're not. And so it was great to have. And then the second year, we had women in non-traditional workforces. We had women who were pilots. We had women who were engineers. We had women who were are owners of manufacturing plants. We had our very own assistant chief of police who came and talked to us about her experiences. And so we wanted to highlight women who work in fields that were non-traditional for women and bring you all their experiences. This year, we're going to be talking about women of faith in the workplace. Women of faith in the workplace. We're going to talk about everything from, is it appropriate to start a Bible study in your workplace? And if somebody gets on your last available nerve, what does God think about you cussing them out, right? And we're going to have a great conversation with women across in a wide range of workspaces, but also in various faiths. And it's going to be a diverse group of women who are our panelists, who will show up and talk to us about being women of faith in a professional workspace. So you don't want to miss that. It is Saturday, May 18th. I had to look for the date. It is Saturday, May 18th at 10:30. We're going to be at First Presbyterian Church. Our caterer is a woman-owned business at Fusion Catering. If you've not been to an event that they have catered, you are really missing out, because the food is phenomenal. So we're going to give you good food. We're going to give you a good event, and you're going to have a good time. You can get your early bird tickets. They are just $40 in the link that you see at the bottom of the screen. And or you can visit my website at norfolksenator.com. It's going to be on the home page, and you can click there and get your ticket. So I am just excited about what we're doing in the city of Norfolk, as well as what we're doing in the Commonwealth. So here's the thing. We've got 30 minutes. So let's get to it. So today I am in Richmond, and I do have notes, y'all, because I wanted to make sure that I was comprehensive, and I want to make sure that I gave you everything that I could in this 30-minute period of time while I'm here in Richmond, and also to give you as much information to have a good dialogue as we move forward. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. I've got them right here. And I'm also trying to figure out this camera thing. Okay. So where do I look to make sure that I am making the absolute best contact with you as you are watching this? So I promise I'll get better with it. Just give me a little bit of time, but I am excited to have you here. And I want you to remember that our next chat is going to be on May 15th, 2024 at noon. And that will be live, where you'll be able to ask questions in the chat and we'll be able to answer them. So I'm in Richmond today for our reconvene session. This is a session that is mandated by the Constitution of Virginia, and it's the 6th Wednesday after we adjourn sine die. So we adjourned sine die on March 9th, and this is the 6th Wednesday for us to come back and talk about what the governor's vetoes were, what his amendments were, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this year for us was the long session. It was a 60-day session because we passed a budget. In addition to legislation, we passed a budget. And in the 30 days after we adjourn sine die from session, the governor he's charged with reviewing all of the legislation that passed the House and the Senate and then taking action on that. Now, he has 4 action options that he can take on the bills that we passed. And so we'll talk about what those action options are a little bit later. I know, say that 3 times fast, right? But because we're here for reconvene session, I want to give you a little bit of background on how we got here, legislatively speaking. So on January 10th, all 140 members were sworn into the House and the Senate. It was a wonderful day that we had. The senators were all sworn in together. We had family here. And so it was really cool. And that was also the last day that we had to submit legislation to be voted on. So we had to have all of our legislation in by the first day of session. Then at the beginning of session, there were a total of 2,284 pieces of legislation filed. Yes, 2,284 pieces of legislation filed between both chambers, the House and the Senate. Of the 2,284 pieces filed, only 1,132 made it to crossover. So y'all see why I need notes, because I need to keep these numbers together, right? Only 1,132 actually made it to crossover. Now, crossover is the midway point of the session when every bill that is passed in its originating chamber has to cross over to the other chamber. So if it passed in the House, it's got to go to the Senate now. If it passed in the Senate, it's got to go to the House now. Only bills that are passed in both the House and the Senate can go to the governor's office or the governor's desk for his action. And so of the 1,132 bills that made it to crossover, 1,046 bills made it to the governor's desk for his action. And like I said, he's got 4 action options on all of those 1,046 bills. So here's what we've got. We're full circle now. This is why I'm here. So here are the 4 action options that the governor can take. He can sign the bill into law, which is always favorable, right? He can make amendments to the bill and then send it back to the General Assembly for reconsideration. And that's why we're here in the reconvene session, because he has made amendments to some of our bills. He can veto the bill, which is not what we like. We like for him to sign the bills and pass the bills. We may not even like for him to amend the bills, but he does. And then he can also do nothing. He can do nothing with the bill. It will go in into law without his signature on it. And so those are the four options that he has. Now, on the amendment side, if he does nothing if he makes amendments, to our bills, then what happens is those amendments come to us today, and we will either accept or reject the amendments on the bills. He has vetoed some bills, a record number, quite frankly. He has vetoed some bills, and we have to either accept the veto or reject the veto. And rejecting a veto or overriding a veto is very difficult because we've got slim margins in the House and the Senate. Democrats have a controlling margin of one. We're one vote. We're 41 in, 41 in, not even 41, 21 in the Senate and 51 in the House of Delegates. So we got a very slim margin. It takes 2/3 of a vote in each chamber in order to override a veto. So that's unlikely, but there are a couple of bills that may get an override. So as I've been hearing, so this is going to be really interesting. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the bills, examples of bills that the governor has vetoed. He has vetoed a couple of bills, Senate Bill 514, which is my bill. It's a statute of limitations for court costs and fines. And currently, did you know, all right, that the Commonwealth of Virginia can collect on court costs and fines up to 60 years. 60. Yep, let that sink in. So if you have court costs and fines in the criminal justice system in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they can collect for up to 60 years. My bill would have simply said that that court costs and fines can be collected up to 10 years from the date of release. And that would put 10 years of collection in parity with civil court costs and fines that can be collected up to 10 years. The second bill that the governor vetoed of mine was Senate Bill 654, and it was a collection period for incarcerated individuals. Did you know that if a person is incarcerated and they have court costs and fines, that those court costs and fines can be sent to collections while they are incarcerated? Yep, let that sink in. So while you're in jail or in prison, your court costs and collections can be sent to your court costs and fines can be sent to collections, and an additional 17 or 18% penalty for the collection costs added on to it. That's just not right, y'all. It's just not right. And so the bill that I put forth said that a person's court costs and fines would not go to collections for 180 days from the date that they were released from incarceration. We got to give people time enough to get themselves together, get a job. You can get a payment plan with the courts for your court costs and fines. And as long as you kept the payment plan, you would never go to collections, right? But it's just not right to send court costs and fines to collections while someone is still incarcerated and they can't pay it. So, but the governor, he thought differently and he vetoed it. Governor also vetoed Senate Bill, I'm not going to get on a soapbox. He also vetoed Senate Bill 696, which was my marijuana justice bill. That bill simply said if you were convicted of a crime and there was additional time added to your sentence because of a marijuana related crime that was illegal then, is legal now, like possession up to a certain amount of marijuana, then we want to have your sentence reviewed and possibly have that time removed from your sentence. It did not, contrary to what the governor wrote in his veto statement, it did not include violent criminal offenses. All right. It was nonviolent criminal offenses where maybe a simple possession charge was added, and then the sentence was enhanced because of the simple possession charge. We wanted to see that removed, but Governor just didn't see it that way. Last bill, Senate Bill 274, is the Prescription Drug Affordability Board. And that is a bill that would have put a board together to look at the astronomical prices of prescription drugs, especially those that are necessary and needed, like insulin or blood pressure medication or things like that. So we wanted to make sure that we were holding the drug companies accountable. They are making record profits off of the lives of sick individuals, and that is just not right. I am not against anybody making their money. Lord knows I love making mine too, but we cannot make money off of folks who are in need of life-saving medication. We want people to live long and healthy lives. We want them to be able to have their medication. We don't want them to be making decisions about medicine or food. And this is real, y'all, because a bottle of medicine these days can cost anywhere from $600 or $700 or $800, upwards of $3,000 or $4,000. And average, everyday, ordinary working people, even with insurance, cannot afford that for a 30-day supply. I'm not talking about a year's supply. I'm talking about a 30-day supply. And so the governor vetoed that bill. He sided with Big Pharma and not with working Virginians. And so that was his action. It is what it is. Now, there are a couple of bills that the governor amended. He amended Senate Bill 515, which was a bill that I brought forth that made hospitals weapon-free zones, not just guns, but knives and machetes and anything that is a weapon that someone is bringing into the hospital and they're not supposed to have that weapon on their person for them doing their job. And so the governor amended that. I don't like the amendments. I don't have the time to go into his amendments, but I don't like the amendments. And so we're going to be rejecting those amendments, and we're going to send that bill back to him, because hospitals are a place of healing and of peace and of respite. And so if you're in the hospital, the last thing you want is a code red because somebody's in there with a weapon. The last thing you want if you're having surgery is to have someone, the doctor, nervous, right? In the procedure of your surgery, right? You don't want him or her nervous because there's a code red and they don't know what's going on and the hospital is going on lockdown. And that happens more times than not. And so the governor has amended the bill. I think it's a bad amendment. Delegate Hernandez, who had the cognate in the House side, thinks it's a bad amendment. And so we're going to kick that back to the governor and have him man up and do the right thing and hopefully sign the bill into law. Then there's Senate Bill 515, which is removing the United Daughters of the Confederacy from the tax exemption code, along with some other organizations. That bill was amended by the governor. We're not fond of his amendment, so we're going to kick that one back. Here's the thing. I believe that we should tell all of history, all of it. All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But what we do not have to do is celebrate the bad or the ugly. We need to tell it. We need to understand that it happened, and we need to understand how it happened and how we got here today. But we do not need to celebrate the bad and the ugly, nor do we need to give tax exemptions to organizations that are rooted in the bad, the ugly, the racist, and the hate. All right, I'm not getting on a soapbox. I'm going to keep it moving. And then the last bill that I want to highlight that the governor amended is Senate Bill 237. Wasn't my bill, but it was the right to contraception. And if we want to ensure that women have the right to contraception, we felt like it was important to have that in our legislature. And so whether or not you believe in contraception or not, if you are a doctor or a medical practitioner, you should be prescribing. If women want contraception, you should be prescribing that to them without giving them a hard time and without your own personal beliefs coming into play. You signed an oath to do no harm. You signed an oath to do the right thing. And so that's all that we're asking you to do. All right. I think the conversation would be a little bit different if we were asking medical professionals to question men about having a vasectomy the way we are questioning women about contraception. But I digress, not getting on the soapbox. All right, so now, what did the governor pass, right? What did he actually pass? He passed a great bill that's going to help a lot of localities, especially Norfolk. It's Senate Bill 516, my Senate Bill 516, which is an ATV bill. This bill makes it so that localities can enact ordinances to allow law enforcement to confiscate those pesky ATVs and dirt bikes that are wreaking havoc in our streets and causing pedestrian safety issues in the middle of the street, doing wheelies and doing tricks and all that kind of stuff. Well, now localities will have, as of July 1, because that's when all these bills go into effect, as of July 1, localities will have the ability to enact an ordinance that allows for the confiscation of these dirt bikes and ATV vehicles, so we can bring back some order to our streets in our cities. We also have a bill, Senate Bill 556, which is a historic tax credit bill. We have a problem with, or crisis with, housing in the city of Norfolk, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, as well as in the United States of America. And while I don't feel like one piece of legislation will make it all go away, it's not like a genie in a bottle, right? But what we can do is we can put several pieces together to help to identify the problem and help make a dent. And so the tax credit bill just allows for a larger tax credit on historic building renovation. And there's a lot of guidelines to what qualifies as a historic building, but on historic building renovation, so that we can get more developers and more builders into that space in renovating historic buildings. Any of you who own historic homes, you know that they come with challenges of their own, and it's not just easy to pull one thing out and put one thing back in. Sometimes that can be a whole process. And so that's one of the things that the governor passed. The last thing we want to talk about is, where is the money? Where is the money? So in Virginia, we are required to have a balanced budget every 2 years. And in the beginning of the session, the governor proposes his budget. The House proposes their budget that they pass, and the Senate proposes their budget that they pass. What happens is the House and the Senate come together, and members of the finance committees haggle it out. And that's where all the horse trading is. They haggle out the budget and they come to a consensus budget. And that is what we call the Virginia Families First budget, where the House and the Senate passed a budget that had, bipartisan support, right? And we have passed that budget, and it has been sent to the governor. The governor has to act on it in terms of passing it. He has to amend it, or he has to veto it. And so he cannot just do nothing and have the budget pass into law. He has to sign it or amend it. And if he amends it, then we get to vote on those amendments today. There were 233 amendments made to the budget, and that is a record number since the year 2000. And I don't even remember who was governor in the year 2000. But let me tell you what we've got, because we are running out of time. Schools got $547.1 million to pay for 3% teacher raises in the next 2 years. We got $371 million for high poverty schools. We got about $25 million for our flood wall and resiliency projects. We got $101 million for toll relief. And we got $545 million for a pay increase for our state employees. And so those are some of the things that we felt like were important to families to make our budget a Virginia Families first budget. We also are doing some overhaul of our tax code so that there is some parity between brick and mortar businesses and online businesses in this tax budget. We are not just going to tax people who work every day and give tax breaks to folks who are millionaires and billionaires. And so where do we go from here? Well, as soon as I end this recording with you all, I'm going to hop out of my seat and across the street to the Capitol to my caucus meeting. And then we're going to go into session at around 12 o'clock to vote on these amendments. We're going to vote on the vetoes, and we're going to vote on the budget. So I just want to take a minute to remind you our next air date, our next chat is going to be Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Thank you for spending this 30 minutes with me. I hope that I was helpful in giving you a broad picture of where we are right now. And next month, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do as legislators and how we're paid and, all of the different responsibilities that we have. And we're going to be able to answer questions. But thank you so much for spending this time with me today and for tuning in to the first What's Up Wednesdays. I look forward to this being a very engaging platform to all of our constituents. The last thing that I want to remind you of, and I'm going to remind you of this every single time we meet, I want to remind you that I love you and I appreciate you and that you are a walking, talking, living, breathing miracle. Have a great Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Have a great Wednesday. I'm off to the Capitol.